Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs postgame show podcast. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo, Kevin Wells running the ones and twos, and hopefully Ryan Herrera joining us from beautiful, historic Wrigley Field, where tonight the Cubs lost to the Phillies 6-4, a faux rally, as we like to call it. They are now 8 games, the Cubs, under the 500 mark, and the live YouTube chat is up and angry as expected. It's the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience is to join and subscribe to that CHGO Sports YouTube page and hang along with us. If you do it in podcast form, we appreciate all the nice reviews, and we still love you too.
When will people just, I don't know, just, like, what's the point
Give
of
up?
being mad? And I'm not, like, I don't even really think
Become
people
complacent
are angry
about the whole thing?
Yeah, I don't even really get the vibe that people are angry. I think people are just exhausted. But, like, if you really are mad, like really mad, like when do you draw the line, I guess? Because I'm past mad. I'm past angry. I don't really have an emotion. I'm just numb. I've been numb for 2 months, Luke. 2 months and 1 day.
Uncomfortably numb.
I've been numb for 2 months and 1 day. You start July, like, basically the last 2 months have been like 90 days, Luke. 90 days. That's what I have for you.
It's tough to watch. It's tough to watch. You know, I say we start with the offense because what did I say on the couch? Here it comes. Here comes the full rally.
As soon as
first base hit, one base hit happened.
it.
I said we like each other. Full rally.
Yep.
We're trying to predict the score. Is it going to be 6-4? Is it going to be 6-5?
We both said 6-5 just because of how
6
many
to
1-run
5. But
games
then I
have
was like,
been
oh, 3-run homer. Well, that would have to mean Morel would hit a homer. But Morel's either going to homer or strike out here, and that's exactly what happened.
Which,
I mean,
not that it mattered, but like that was a terrible call by the umpire, in my opinion, on that strikeout.
It was bad, but it wasn't so outrageous that you probably have to swing at it with 2 strikes. You know what I mean? Like, you can't count on the umpire being perfect in that situation. You got to.
Again, I don't care in the grand scheme, but I just felt like that's a terrible call. It's a terrible blown call.
It was brutal. But, I mean, coming in, let's face it. You went into the inning with 2 hits all night.
Yeah.
2 hits all night. And, sure, you got 3 straight hits to start the 9th inning, and you got the juices flowing, and everybody got excited. Mm-hmm. But in the end, 6-4.
Yeah.
It's just not enough offense. Two runs going into the 9th inning is not enough offense to win very many games, and certainly not to win games against the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah.
It's one of the best teams in baseball.
I think when you mention the 2 hits, what's frustrating, I've lost every word to describe the offense at this point, but I mean, the wind's blowing out tonight, and you just to not be able to get anything going against a rookie pitcher. You have to face Zach Wheeler tomorrow.
Ugh.
Like, I get getting shut down by him, but you went up against a rookie pitcher tonight, and you didn't do shit. Bellinger is the only one who showed up against that guy. That's it. And I don't have any more words for this offense. They're underwhelming. They've underperformed. They haven't lived up to any kind of expectations that we had. And they continue to be the most frustrating thing about this team. And coming in the year, that was my biggest question. And then I'm not saying that I was right about it, but it has always been the biggest thing that concerned me about this team. And I don't really know what else to say about it anymore, man. Like, there's no one player or 2 that you can plug in there and fix it. It's just not going to happen. So 8 games under, trade deadline's coming. Everyone wants to sell. They should probably sell. I don't know how you're going to sell when you're not set up to sell, but they'll find a way to move something.
DFW Susie in the live YouTube chat with maybe the comment of the season. I've been disappointed by much more entertaining men than this in my life. So boring and bad. That should be gold starred for whenever we go back and look at our funniest comments. That one's good.
That's a good one.
Shout out to Susie.
Gary Ross says season went in the toilet on May 14th. I believe that was the Slaughter trade is what he's referring to, maybe.
However, Gary does acknowledge that Tyson Miller has been awesome for the Cubs. He acknowledges it in the Discord. He won't do it in the YouTube chat, I'm sure, but he does acknowledge it in the Discord. So we have to give him some credit.
He'll fetch a nice 19-year-old that we'll see in 6 years in July. Sorry.
What did
whatever, man.
Red meat.
The offense thing goes back to, even whether you want to go back to when we were in Milwaukee and we watched the game, or you want to go back 10 games before that, or you go back 10 games before that. Corey and I sat at that game in Milwaukee and said, look at all the guys that are – it's an old stat, but it still tells you something. Look at all the guys hitting 200. That used to get you out of baseball, hitting 200, unless you have power in some of the other – even with the new stats, 200's terrible unless you're doing some of the other things, right? The guys don't have enough power to be – there's not enough power being produced for guys to be hitting 210, 220. They only have two guys, I believe, Bellinger and Bush, at 260. The game has changed a lot, and it's just frustrating to watch the offense. I don't know if the ball's dead. I saw Becky talk about Bellinger just missed a home run. How many times have we said that this season? Oh, they're just short of. That's like a classic Cubs thing, because the ball at Wrigley Field, depending on where you're sitting, and if you can't see it go up in the sky all the way because of the old stadium, fans get all excited and it's a routine fly ball. That's happened on television now multiple times. It's every night. Do they just have warning track power, or is the ball really that dead? Or both?
Well, the one Bush hit to the warning track, I mean, he is among tops for rookies in home runs this year. So I think he has 25 to 30 home run power once he gets really settled in as a major leaguer. Bellinger, I thought Castellanos just robbed him. Like, that ball wasn't going over the fence, but that was just a great catch by Castellanos. And he's not even a good defensive player. I mean, that's just how the season has gone, right? If Bellinger's ball in the first inning drops, I believe Bush walked in that inning. If that ball drops, the Cubs score first to start that game. Yeah. And then Seiya gets a single right after that. And who knows? Like, maybe they're able to tack on another run after that. Doesn't happen, thankfully for the Phillies, if you're a Phillies fan, because Castellanos made that catch. Bellinger's second at bat, he hits one into the gap. He drove the ball, something that everyone's been like a little worried about these last handful of games, weeks, whatever. So that was good to see. It's just no one else is hitting, man. Or at least tonight, no one else hit. Seiya hit that home run in the ninth inning, whatever you want to call it. He did have a hit earlier in the game, like I said.
It was faux fur, man. It was a faux fur.
I don't know, man.
Shane, good point, says ball dead. Turner had no issues tonight.
That's true.
Although he hasn't had that many this season. Just in
he only
general,
had 5.
In general,
5 now.
Offense down in the game. But I just feels like every night we get excited about anything that's hit in the air in the outfield.
Yeah. I think the most legit one that probably should have been a home run is still that Patrick Wisdom 111 miles per hour off the bat that was pushed back into the park because of the wind or whatever that one day.
That was insane.
Yeah.
How that ball did
that one out. For sure should have been a homer. But, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and say that you asked the question, do they just have warning track power? It's like, I bet we'd probably be surprised by where the Cubs rank in homers for the entire league. I think we'd be pleasantly surprised, honestly.
I don't know about that. Look it up, Kevin. In the meantime, how did you feel about Wesneski? It's with him as a starter or a reliever, it's sort of the same storyline every time. When he gets into trouble, it's the home run ball. What was the stat that Ryan put out today about home runs for Wesneski? It's something crazy. Like, he had just a few home runs in his first amount of innings this season, and then it was, I believe he's got 10 home runs in his last 20 innings or something like that. It's just...
Yeah, Ryan tweeted, I think his first 29 innings pitched this year, he hadn't...
Ryan Herrera.
Yeah, from Ryan. His first 29 and a third innings this year, he didn't allow a home run.
Wow.
That was 3 starts and 6 relief appearances.
Okay.
First 29 and a third innings, okay?
Almost 30 innings of baseball he pitched this season without giving up a home run. Since then,
13 outings since. Well, that is including, or at least when he sent that tweet. He had given up 9 home runs 9 home runs across 18 and 2/3 innings. That was through 3
And that might have been
tonight.
before the second home run.
Now it's 10 homers across 20 and 2/3 of 2/3 innings. 10 homers in 20 innings. Yeah.
Wow.
The Cubs are 11th worst in the league in home runs. So they've hit
they are
83.
They're just outside the bottom 10.
But they've hit more home runs than most of their divisional opponents. The only team that's hit more homers is the Brewers than them. So
who lead them by almost 12 games.
Cardinals have hit 81, Reds have hit 81, Pirates have hit 80, Brewers have hit 87.
And even being just outside the bottom 10, I'm even a little pleasantly surprised, just because.
Just being mid.
It's not that.
Not even mid.
It's more about the fact that it feels like they never hit home runs. So if you would have asked me before telling me that, I would have said bottom 5 in baseball. Mm-hmm. I know that, but the only reason that I felt like when I really thought about it, it's like, okay, well, Swanson has 8, Happ has 11, Bellinger has he has 9 or 10, Bush has 10, he leads rookies in homers. Morel, despite how much he struggled, he has 15. Like, they have guys who have a decent amount of homers. They just don't have that one guy that's exploding with 20 of them right now. You know what I mean? So that it's kind of spread out across the lineup. Even Nico hit a couple last week.
I think the reason you feel that way, and I'll try to find the
just kind of
spread out, and also just a ton of solo homers. There's been no that
didn't
big
even
blow.
mention
It's the timing of them.
Yeah, there's been no big blow in a game when they need it. There's been no 2-3 run home. I mean, tonight you get one, but
the Sox game,
late.
the crosstown game that we did the takeover. That's one of the few times this year you can say, oh, yeah, well, they came back with the home run, hit a couple of big bombs, and it changed the game, and they won.
Yeah,
that's true.
You can point to a couple of Ian Happs.
You shouldn't be able to pick out the handful of games that it's happened.
And look at Ian Happ a couple weeks ago. He's had a couple multi-home run games, and then the lead is blown in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. I mean, it's all bad, as they say.
So for Wesneski, what is the situation with the homers? Why does that happen, and how can he fix it? Is it just a lapse in his focus? Yeah. Is it just a mistake? Is that something? It's not a stuff. It's never a stuff thing for that guy. It's just not. He's got good stuff. You can see it.
Brennan had a thread about him tonight, and he talks. You guys can go read it at Brennan_Cubs, and I won't read it because it's a really long thread. But he basically talks about how Wesneski has a great breaking pitch, but he lacks hard stuff. Like, his fastball hasn't performed well in his career and grades poorly.
One of the home runs
you can't say that about a lot of the other guys. But the thing is, though, is that there are times Wesneski will touch 97 on his fastball. I think he's more consistently somewhere between 94 and 95. But even tonight, I saw him touch 97 once. I think he leaves the ball over the plate too much sometimes when he makes a mistake, and when he does make a mistake, it's a big mistake. I don't know if it's it's too much of a sample size. 20 innings. It's not just 1 or 2 bad outings. It's 20 innings where he's giving up too many homers. And I will say, over the stretch, there have been a few games where the Cubs offense hasn't scored any runs, and he is forced to go out there in the late innings and, to try to be perfect. So I won't shit on him for every single home run that he's given up over the stretch. But I think the biggest concern for me with him is just the home runs, because I agree, he has great stuff. The sweeper is arguably the best pitch on the entire pitching staff. But I don't know. You can't give up homers, man. And you can't give up homers with guys on base. He gave up the solo one to Trea Turner. It was 3-0. Okay. But eventually, you give up a 2-run homer after that.
It's tough. Cubs lose 6-4.
Let me tell you guys about Circa Sportsbook. I did bet on Angel Reese tonight. on rebounds and points. Over on rebounds and under on points. And then I did bet Michael Busch to hit a home run. Came just short. Just like the fake rally in this game, in the Cubs losing. I came just short on Michael Busch homers, or to hit a homer. But at least Angel Reese salvaged the night for me. But I did all on Circa. There's 3 reasons I like Circa. They got the tight money line splits. Luke cannot shut up about the tight money line splits.
It's one of my favorite things in life.
Right.
Tight money line splits.
The games on their menu strive to be -110 split on the Circa Sports menu. Unlike other sports books, which may use a -115 or -120 splits, Circa Sports keeps as little money as possible on large market bets, especially compared to other books. They don't limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players. They encourage bettors to download and explore all sports betting apps available to compare the lines from each sports book. And then they have real people behind their brand who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots. All aspects of the app are being run by the same team that runs the main Circa Sportsbook at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. So download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for Circa events, watch parties, and tailgates. They're with us for every Cubs Friday 120 club. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, text GAMB to 833-234, or visit areyourreallywinning.com.
Hey guys, you know what else I love besides tight money line splits? Blue Moon beer. Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon was created at Coors Field in Denver. It's the natural choice all season long. Summertime Shy is here. Get ready for the 4th of July parties and parades, and give me a Blue Moon with a slice of orange to cool off. What's more American than that? Nothing beats watching baseball or lounging by the pool or hanging out on the 4th of July to barbecue with an ice-cold Blue Moon. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for a baseball season. A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon, but all you can do is enjoy it all season long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And the other big story today, not only did the Cubs lose to the Phillies, and it's a bad start to a homestand and a tough stretch in the schedule coming up here, but then more bad news down in the minor leagues. You know, I sat here, I don't know what it was, a month and a half ago, and I was like, call up Brendan Davis. What did he hit? Something like 10 home runs. It was an incredible stretch of home runs. It was like, he's healthy. He's hitting home runs. This is the guy that was your top 25 prospect in all of baseball. Bring him up. And then he was hurt the next day. And we were like, well, what's going on, right? We were like, what's going on? Now we get the news today from Iowa that he has a back fracture and no timetable for his return. I feel so bad for this kid. He wasn't just a top 100 prospect. He was a 5-tool primed to be their star for a long time. The guys that saw him play said this guy cannot miss. He's a can't-miss prospect. He's your guy. And you know what holds back a can't-miss prospect? Unfortunately, some wild stuff, some bad injuries. In 2022, it was also a back problem, but it was vascular malformity. A vascular malformity they found when they opened up his back, a cluster of blood cells that they just had to kind of cauterize, and this extreme pain that came out of nowhere went away. So it was like, okay, people were calling it back surgery, but it wasn't really structural back surgery. So you were like, okay, he doesn't have back problems. He had some weird genetic thing with his blood vessels in his back. They cauterized him. It's good to go. Then last year he has the core muscle surgery. Because we were thinking, oh, okay. Then he gets over that, and he comes back this season, and he's healthy, and you see him, and you're like, wow, they need to give him a shot, because this guy was higher rated than when you acquired PCA, Brendan Davis was still your top prospect. And now that he's got a fractured back, I just don't think he's ever going to play for the Cubs. Mm-hmm. And Braylon Marquez was another former number one prospect. To watch those two guys get derailed, but especially Brendan Davis, that's an everyday player, an outfielder who can slug, who can run, who can play the outfield. You got to feel sorry for that kid. Like he had one of the greatest talents you can have, and he loves playing baseball. But man, he can't stay healthy. And it doesn't seem like any of this stuff has any. Like on the other side of town, you look at Eloy and they say he's injury prone. How is Brendan Davis injury prone? Like, how did he just fracture his back? What did he do?
Not a doctor. It just seems very fluky. I mean, right. It just seems.
He was playing in a game and he ended up coming out of that game.
He dove in that game.
Yeah.
And they brought him out. But they didn't know and then it was time passed by and they said, oh, they think they saw something they didn't like in the x-ray was the update I think I remember hearing. And then we didn't hear anything for like another week, and now we hear back fracture.
Yeah. Yep.
It's why you have to pile up prospects one after another. And it's why you can't overvalue the prospect at the top versus the prospect that's number 3 or number 5 in your system or number 7. Because sometimes those number 7s and number 5s are the ones that get there.
Yeah. He reached as high as top 15 in all of baseball.
Yeah, I was going to say like 15, 16, 17, 18 in all of baseball.
He was one of the top prospects in baseball. Yeah, he was the only reason I had any optimism 3 years ago. I guess you could say 3 years ago. When we launched, he was the big thing, the big prospect we were talking about. Yeah, it just sucks, man. Like, a lot of people look at these prospects as just like, dudes or whatever, or like trade chips or just like, like they don't think about it from a human perspective. They look at them like robots in a way.
That's all this kid's ever done.
And, everyone is always open to like talking about trading this guy or trading that guy. And like, that's sports talk radio. That's us on this podcast talking about, just spitballing different trades or whatever, or talking about this guy sucks or that guy's playing great, whatever. But when it comes to just like the human side of a guy, from all the people that know him that I know, they've said nothing but good things about him and being a great kid and all that. And it just sucks that something like that, like this, continues to happen to him. So I kind of lean with you. I don't think we're ever going to see him with the Cubs, unfortunately. He's on the 40-man. He's going to they put him on the injured list. So, like, I don't know. I feel like he'll probably be there the rest of the year. But come the offseason, I think it's time that you have to, like, at the very least, take him off a 40-man and see if you can still keep him in your organization somehow, some way. But I don't know, man. It's just there comes to a point where it's time to move on, and I don't know if that time is here yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow came back and was healthy for another team. And honestly, I would just be happy for him. But we've gone through this with him, not once, not twice, but now 3 times, and it's just. You get to a point where it's not that we're giving up on a kid. I'm not necessarily giving up on him. It's more about the fact that if you can't play, if you can't be on the field, like the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
And like if you can't do that, then it's hard to have belief that you can be relied upon to be part of the team's future or anything. So just sucks. I'm glad that Jed never traded him because I wanted to see if he could, get to the majors. But when you can't, again, if you can't stay on the field consistently, there comes to a point where you have to cut ties, I think. And I think that this offseason will probably be it.
If that is the case, I think if you do see him get a chance from another team, like if this back's whatever he needs to heal his back happens and he recovers, I think he's only 24 years old still. Highly thought of prospect. He goes to another team. If he has success, be happy for him. Don't be mad that it didn't happen with the Cubs. At this point, I just want him to get that shot at baseball. Because I feel bad for him. Like you said, everybody we've talked to has said, oh, man, this kid is salt of the earth. Great kid, great athlete, great player, great teammate, and he's right on the cusp of going to the major leagues. When we launched this podcast, we were basically counting the days to when we would get to see Brendan Davis. That was all we were looking for. We wanted one thing. When can we see Brendan Davis? When can we see Brendan Davis? Brendan Davis is the future. The next great star in the Cubs, the next Chris Bryant, the next Anthony Rizzo is going to be Brendan Davis. And it has fallen apart for him in sort of an unbelievable way. It's really hard because, Kevin, you look at this kid and he was at a point where if he comes into the majors and he does what he's been doing at every other level, he's going to set up his family for generations to come. Not only is he going to get to play the game that he loves every single day, he's going to set up his family for generations financially. And right now, his body is falling apart on him.
But you mentioned it. He does have youth on his side still. There's a lot. Back injuries are so complicated, and there's going to be a lot that we'll read in the coming weeks when he gets evaluated in medicals. And once all that comes out, I think there'll be more of a timeline, and the organization can get to the conclusion of, hey, do we want to keep him on the 40-man? Do we want to keep him around? Because I don't want to bury his chances of being on the Cubs next year. I know we're not trying to do that now. We're being realistic and objective here about the injuries that he's sustained. But I think that there's still a ball player in there. We saw him come back from an injury this year and play really well. And like you said, you wanted him to come up. I don't think that the chapter's closed on him yet. It's just really starting to get harder and harder and more ominous at, a future with the Chicago Cubs. Now, I want to wait and see the severity of the injury first. Obviously, back fracture sounds horrible. That sounds very painful. And being a baseball player, that's a pretty rough injury. But he's not a pitcher. He's an outfielder. There are a few things working in his favor. I'm not ready to close that chapter yet. I'm going to root for him. I know we all are, to come back. But there's no doubt the Cubs have a lot of young players coming, and you can only fit 40 guys. You can only protect 40 guys, and if you can't play, you can't play. And you'll be rooting for him regardless. But I'm not ready to close the chapter yet. I think I'm going to wait and see how the medicals look and the timeline and go from there.
Tyler, I'm sorry. Tyler's comment here. Talk about a waste of 10 minutes talking about how bad we should feel about
Go listen
Davis.
to another podcast.
Like no one else in the world has to deal with shit. He's young, super talented. I'm sorry, man. Like, shut up. I'm just going to let you know that I think you should shut up. Like,
well,
I'm just...
He can say it. I don't care if he says it in the chat. Just turn us off. I don't care.
The whole point of why we're talking about is because he was one of the top tier prospects of the organization.
He was the top prospect in the organization.
And I'm just like, I just feel like this goes back to like some of the comments I was reading yesterday about when we were talking about the shit that happened Saturday at the ballpark. Like, there's just no empathy in this fucking world anymore. So like, fucking get it together.
And also, what are we going to... You want to talk about the same team that's losing the same way every night? This was the news of the day. This is what you come to for a Cubs podcast, Tyler. You come for news. You come to hear analysis.
I don't mean to come off too harsh about it. I've just been so annoyed by this kind of shit. Like, no one in this world has any empathy anymore. No one. And it's really fucking sad.
Nieren's actually right. Nieren's right about the Brendan Davis thing. It's also... I hope he can find another team or whatever it might be. He's not off the Cubs yet, but I just hope he can live a healthy life. This is multiple. He's going to have multiple things going on with his back. You hope that doesn't bother him the rest of his life. It's just. We'll talk more Cubs baseball in a second. We're hoping to have Ryan Herrera coming up live from the ballpark. But first, we got more things to tell you about. Ooh. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends from Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor activities. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. They probably have one in a style that matches your team's favorite colors. In fact, I've seen them over there at work. I wear Shady Rays while I'm fishing, golfing, and driving. And, of course, I always wear them when I'm vibing. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free for 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Cody, what's more valuable? What's the most valuable thing in the world? In sports?
In sports?
A hit with a guy in scoring.
Chips.
I was going to say hit with a guy in scoring
baby.
position.
Championships. That's all that matters. A star quarterback is probably second, but third on that list would be the most important thing in life is time. Time. Managing and worrying about body odor used to take up a lot of time in my life. I was paranoid about smelling, especially around the midday time, and I was extremely time-consuming worrying about this, trying to deal with it, but not anymore. I switched to Mando. Whole body deodorant. It freed up so much time in my life. That's how I have time to watch a slow 3-hour baseball game every night, even when I have 2 little kids. Here's the other key. Mando doesn't cover up odor after the fact with heavy fragrances. It stops odor at the source by blocking the bacteria on your skin from eating your sweat. That's the actual cause of BO. Did you know that? No, I knew you didn't. What does it mean? It means Mando is clinically proven to control odor for up to 72 hours. That's a long time, man. And a special offer for you. New customers get $5 off Mando's best-selling starter pack with the code CHGO at shopmando.com. Mando whole body deodorant is powerful enough for the toughest body odor, but gentle enough to use anywhere, allowing you to put Mando on your family jewels without any worry, because Mando is aluminum-free, baking soda-free, cruelty-free, dye-free, and vegan. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Luckily, I have that discount code for you, and you get hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers, $5 off the starter pack, our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use the code CHGO at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com.
If you're coming to Friday 120 Club, make sure you have your Mando on, because it's warm.
It's going to be a hot one?
It's going to be warm. It's at least 80 degrees and sunny.
Let me see.
And we're sitting in the bleachers.
Yeah.
So.
July 5th. Let me see what the forecast is.
We all smelled really good on the bus on Saturday on the way to Milwaukee because we had our Mando on.
So, nice. Now, that stadium gets really warm when that roof is closed. I'm glad they had it open.
Oh, it was muggy.
Yeah, they don't have AC
It was muggy, and it took forever to get into that ballpark, too. We were in some massive line. I've never seen a line like that to get into a regular season game.
Yeah, they don't have the cool metal detectors where you can just walk right through with 30 people at a time. It's great. The ones at Wrigley are awesome.
It was hot. It was hot. It was muggy, to say the least.
As we wait for Ryan, Niren has a good question.
Okay, Niren, what do you got?
Can you go to the bottom, Kevin?
What's our guy Niren got? Show regular.
He asked. Oh, here it is.
On the live
Here's
YouTube chat.
Existential
question.
Do the Cubs as an organization have competitive edge on anything?
That's a good
this
thing.
This has been kind of. I've been reading this kind of stuff, like this kind of discourse on social media the last handful of weeks, really, and it's hard to tell right now. And this kind of goes back to, like, I quote tweeted a clip from 670 The Score today. It was Lawrence Holmes talking about how the Cubs push these certain guys, this prospect, whatever. He mentioned like Brennan Davis and PCA and I don't know, Matt Mervis. And kind of talked about how like they push that and then they like I guess in a way he was
prospect humping.
Yes, he called it prospect humping, and it's like, I guess to answer Niren's question, do they have a competitive edge? I guess the only, as an optimist that I am, I'm not telling you that you should feel this way, but as an optimist that I am, the things that I'm clinging on to are the fact that they have developed pitching in a way that we haven't seen since Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. Like, we haven't even seen Cade Horton yet. Like, we've seen Ben Brown have success. We've seen Jordan Wicks have success. Unfortunately, they're both hurt right now. And honestly, Jordan Wicks, like, this is more hurt than he's ever been in his professional career, which is crazy to me. But like, injuries happen, right? As we were just talking about. But like, there's other guys too. Like, I think Porter Hodge and Luke Little have given us some reason for optimism with them too. I know they have command issues, but they are the reason they've won the last 2 games that they have won. They have been a big part of that, right? I think in the pitching side, there's a lot to be excited about. At some point, though, we need to see some of their position players that are coming up through the system be productive. And I feel like you're getting some of it from PCA defensively and with his legs as a base stealer, but we haven't seen him hit yet. And I think you have to like continue to wait that out because he's so young and he's so raw. And like, it's just a month and a half isn't telling to how good it isn't telling to what a player is, especially someone of his age, in my opinion. So I'm not saying that they lead baseball in terms of player development and all that, but I do think that scouting, development, all that, like, I feel like they're at least up there with most of the league, I think. In terms of finding talent and bringing it up and trying to develop it. Have they all worked out? No, but I think that it's significantly better than it was 5-6 years ago. So
Theo and Jed and that team found a loophole in signing bonuses and international signings, and they took advantage of that. Like, that was one thing that they were ahead of the trend on, right? Mm-hmm. And they tried to be ahead of the trend on when everybody was going pitching. They went the opposite way. They tried to go all hitting with their prospect polls. So I think what Niren is saying is, like, they were ahead of the pack on this. And then they were ahead of the pack when they started bringing in Ivy, the computer. And so there were ways that they were ahead of the game. What are they ahead of the game on now? I don't know what that would be now.
Yeah.
Niren's saying, what are they ahead of the game on? Do they have a good fan base? Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have a powerful fan base that generates the money if you are taking that money and then putting it back into the organization. Because as you're talking about with Lawrence Holmes, whether it's prospect humping or paying for players, the perfect recipe for building the perfect chocolate chip cookie or perfect championship team is, you have young players that you're developing yourself and your young stars, and that you're filtering them in and you can just push them through. And then when the older guys that you've signed big money contracts to, you can afford to set them off because you have the younger players coming in. And it's just kind of this happy, like, wave of water that's going by. You have young players and you have players that you're probably overpaying, but they're stars that you need at that moment.
Yeah.
And so you have this happy marriage of the two going on. Right now, that happy marriage hasn't happened. We're still waiting for the prospects to come to the marriage, and we haven't really seen the heavy-duty spending. We've seen enough that they're up in the higher spending, but they aren't Bryce Harper. They aren't Shohei Ohtani. They haven't gone for the big bite of the apple, and they haven't had the superstar develop right within their organization yet either. So,
I mean, in general,
are they ahead of the game in something? I don't know.
I don't know either. And not, like, to answer Niren's question,
in players, they're not.
No,
in talent, they're not yet.
I think in scouting and development, I think they're improved compared to previous years. If you go back 5 years and look at where this organization was in terms of scouting, development, drafting, all those things, I think that the organization is better than that. But are they ahead of the league, the Major League Baseball in that? You can't confidently say yes because they haven't done any winning. You know what I mean? But they have some promising players. The fact that they took Justin Steele and turned him into a Cy Young caliber pitcher and he was like a 4th or 5th round pick in 2014, kind of a late bloomer, doesn't throw 97, 98, but he still goes out there as a 2-pitch pitcher and gives you quality innings every 5th day. I think that says something for the type of organization you are in terms of how you bring them up and how you develop guys and how you put guys in the right position to succeed, and the coaching staff. We just haven't seen enough of it with other guys to lead to winning. So I just think that, again, I think their scouting and development and drafting is significantly better than it was 5 years ago. But would I say it's ahead of everyone else? No. So
James said he thinks the prospect hyping has been damaging. Well, I guess that just damage. How? Like, well, I don't think it's because the team doesn't have to spend, because the fan base believes that the future is coming. 2016 helped do that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's overhyping. Like 2016, the prospects were coming. They told us we're coming, and they delivered, and then they fell off the face of the earth.
All of them delivered at once. Like,
yeah.
That doesn't happen.
No,
right?
it was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And to be honest,
it lasted for like 3 really great years.
And to be honest, like the only prospects that we like real top tier prospects that we've been talking about for a significant amount of time that we've seen this year are PCA, Michael Busch. You technically was a top 100 prospect. You top 5 in the organization entering opening day.
Much delivered.
And then, even Ben Brown wasn't considered a top 10 guy, but he's come up and been really good when he was healthy. Jordan Wicks was I think he might have been top 10, maybe right outside the top 10 entering the year. But like when you talk about their outside of PCA, who we all knew was going to give you the defense and the base running, but we were still waiting on the hitting. You knew that was going to be a process. We still haven't seen Matt Shaw. We haven't seen Owen Casey. We haven't seen Cade Horton. Like those are your guys. That's who I think the organization is not necessarily banking on to like be the next quote unquote core, but like be those guys that I think gives us some confidence that they're doing these things correctly.
And to Lawrence's point, and what you quote tweeted, both of you were right in multiple things. Lawrence was saying there's not been in essence, he was saying there hasn't been a superstar developed. They're just saying, bring these guys up, and that's the answer. Those should be a supplement to the roster of your building because you're the Cubs and you can afford it, which is true. But he's also, I didn't agree with the fact the Cubs never touted Matt Mervis as a prospect ever. Some of the names on there, Brennan Davis, obviously, and he deserved it. He was great until he got hurt. But yeah, I mean, Miguel Amaya wasn't. He was a top 10 prospect in the organization, but he was never like this is going to be the future at catcher. That was never the thing, and Matt Mervis was never the hyped prospect that was made out to be. So it was give and take on both of those sides. The Cubs are good at the advanced scouting part, and you're right, they've drafted really well, but there's just not. Cade Horton is the closest thing to a superstar that you're hoping to get out of this class. Maybe Matt Shaw. Those are really the only two. PCA was the other guy, and if the baddie's only 22, so the jury is still out. But those are the two that you're looking at.
And maybe Casey.
Potentially. Yeah, he's got a lot of pop, right.
Gary's talking about how Amaya was the top-ranked prospect in the organization before he got hurt. In the minors, he was high up, but that's when the farm system was
awful,
barren.
Yeah, he
was a top 100 guy in all of baseball at one point.
Yeah, he was a higher-up prospect.
It was what in the
50s
or 60s?
Yeah, probably. Like I don't remember. It's been 4 years.
Listen, prospects just don't.
And also rankings are rankings.
Every team can say, look at all the prospects that didn't work. Tim Anderson got DFA'd today.
Yeah.
You want to talk about crazy? Tim Anderson went from hitting a home run in the corn game to being the face of baseball to DFA'd in like a couple years.
Life comes at you fast.
And again, prospect rankings are rankings. Like Justin Steele was never a top tier prospect.
No.
And he made the All-Star team, and he's a top 2 pitcher on the team.
What makes you great is when that guy comes up and you already have 2 aces.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, whoa. Or you already have an ace, and he comes up.
Kind of like what Kyle Hendricks was in 2016, honestly.
Or what Shota had been the first 2, couple months of the season.
Yeah.
We're waiting for Ryan Herrera to join us here, and hopefully he'll join us from beautiful, historic Wrigley Field. But first, But first,
That might take a few minutes to
get ready to be the most stylish one in your crew this summer with Cuts. Most guys would wear a T-shirt every day of their lives if they could. The problem is that most T-shirts are not acceptable to wear at work or on a hot date night. Today's sponsor, Cuts, has finally changed that. Cuts T-shirts are such high quality, wrinkle-free, and so buttery soft, you can look like you're dressing up even when you're dressing down. Yeah, you heard me right. Wrinkle-free. For a limited time, you can save money on Michael Chandler's favorite clothing company by heading to cutsclothing.com. That's cutsclothing.com and use the code CHGO for 20% off. My favorite part, they don't just have sick tees, they dominate the joggers game too. Their bottoms stretch to fit joggers look so much better than those nerdy khakis you want to wear and are 1,000 times more comfortable. All their clothing, it's just as comfortable as athleisure, but just fashionable enough to wear or hang out in your backyard barbecue. The best part, Cuts clothing is built to last, durable construction, meaning you're making a smart investment in your wardrobe. Embrace the summer state of mind with Cuts. For a limited time, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use the code CHGO at checkout. That's 20% off your order at cutsclothing.com. Promo code CHGO. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Experience the perfect blend of style and comfort with Cuts Clothing. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the time of the show where our beat reporter, Ryan Herrera, is now ready to join from beautiful historic Wrigley Field. He is sitting there in what sometimes our godmother of the podcast, Barb, likes to call a bathroom stall, just because it looks like white in the background with some weird shadows. It is actually the Wrigley Field press box.
Yeah, Kevin's working on the video right now.
He's working on it.
People can see
this is what we call buying him some time. I'm buying him some time. Anyways, Ryan, when he comes up, you will see he's wearing a beautiful Hawaiian shirt because that's why we call him Ryan, the Hawaiian wearing shirt. Herrera.
We're going to do this for a minute here while I update the camera. But Ryan is here.
Ryan is here?
Ryan is here.
Ryan is here. He's up.
Wait.
We can see you now.
Just can't see.
What did you say you called me? Ryan the Hawaiian wearing Herrera?
Ryan the Hawaiian wearing Herrera. Does your dad wear Hawaiians?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't really wear Hawaiian.
Well, see, you're the Hawaiian wearing Herrera.
Why not Hawaiian Ryan?
Hawaiian
Herrera?
Ryan? Well, are you Hawaiian?
Well, I wear Hawaiian.
Okay, see, that's why.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Now we're just
okay. That's
words.
why. Listen, we got a lot to talk about. We don't have to spend a ton of time on another faux rally that we all saw coming tonight. Just 2 runs. But I guess that was probably the theme of the game, was not just that Wesneski gave up home runs, that you had 2 hits going into the 9th inning.
Well, you had, 16 straight after Bellinger's double in the 3rd. 16 straight, something like that, retired before Bush, Bellinger, and Suzuki started that fake rally in the 9th. Yeah, it was bad. And talking to Craig Counsell post-game, all else, everything else matters, obviously. Wesneski giving up a pair of homers, and, Brewer gave up a run there later on in the game. But, Counsell acknowledged, there was basically nothing after Bellinger's hit. They didn't put any pressure on. Mercado was able to get through 5 after that with just the 1 run. Nothing on the bullpen guys until Jose Ruiz, obviously right there in the 9th. It was just and Philly's a good team. They're the team that's a lot of what they've done well this year is pitching, and so it's going to be hard to put up a bunch of runs against this team, but going 16 straight, I think it was 16 straight batters without getting anyone on base is regardless of what Wesneski or whoever it is on the mound, that's not going to win you baseball games. They can't win you baseball games. I mean, they scored 4 runs because Suzuki hit a 3-run home run in the 9th. They're already down 6-1, and even Seiya said it, trying to figure out ways to do that earlier in games. Help out the starting pitcher, don't stop putting him in such difficult positions where he gives up a couple runs early, and it feels like the offense isn't there behind him. It's part of it, and so that's the theme. That's been the theme. I mean, it almost turned into before that ninth inning. It almost turned into back-to-back games with 2 hits for this team, and we talk about Justin Steele's thing on Saturday. Like, Matt, maybe that can be the rallying cry. Maybe that can be the point where the team turns it around, and then the offense goes and basically has its 2 worst offensive performances in all year. Maybe like both these last 2 games weren't good at all offensively. The Seiya Suzuki homer today saved it at least on the scoreboard, but the offense has looked just beaten the last 2 games, and facing good pitchers is going to be hard to score again, like I said, but it's bad.
I got a question for you then. So, today's not a day where bullpen was a deal, right? We spent how many? We spent dozens, more than dozens. We spent many nights here talking about this bullpen this season. Julian Merryweather, if there's been one injury to it, I think Merryweather's been the biggest one. ALLCITY, you can argue that. Leiter's been a big one now. But Merryweather was a guy that they were hoping could recreate what he did last year. Where is he at? He was at the ballpark today?
Yes, he was at that ballpark. Threw 25 pitches during live BP today. It's actually his first live BP during this whole rehab. He's done some bullpens and stuff. But first live BP, first time facing live hitters. So great step, obviously, there. Counsell said he's likely going to throw another one, I think, on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. So he's going to be with the team throughout the homestand. We'll do that Saturday. Cubs go on the road next week, and Merryweather should go out on a rehab assignment when that happens. Maybe get 2 or 3 appearances in there before they, obviously, because the All-Star break's coming up, get maybe at least 3 appearances in there. And then by the time the Cubs are returning from the All-Star break, it's possible that Merryweather could be ready to join the team. It's obviously not there yet. You got some steps to go, some boxes to check, but looking on track, like second half of July, post All-Star break, Julian Merryweather can make his long-awaited return to this Cubs team.
What about other? Ethan Roberts looked pretty good. Is there anybody else that we can be hopeful that might come up?
Come up or come back?
Come back.
I think. Talking to Counsell today, listed off some guys that are on the mend, and a lot of them are like the Jordan Wicks, Ben Brown. He kind of pointed to those guys as possible second half of July returns. Leiter maybe even before All-Star break. I know when he went on the IL, it was hopeful for a minimum stint. So he's someone that could be back even before the All-Star break. Assad potentially is in the mix around there too. So it seems like a lot of those arms that are missing right now should be within the next, obviously the All-Star break cuts in there a little bit, but within the next couple weeks, 3 weeks, like a lot of those arms seem like they should be at least close to returning, if not ready to return, like post All-Star break, which you're talking about trade deadlines and stuff and adding and whatever. And that's all well and good. And that's something that we're going to be talking about in the future, whether the Cubs are buyers or sellers, whatever. But if you're talking about trying to add stuff to the roster to make any sort of run, if you can even get there, having a bunch of arms that you were hoping were going to play a part, we're going to pitch big, important innings for you throughout the year, getting a handful of those guys back is that kind of step. Whether they make outside additions or not, you are getting guys back that you were hoping and expected to pitch pretty important innings for you throughout the year that just, like a guy like Merryweather, just hasn't in 3 months, right? So that could be, as far as additions go, might be too little too late, but it's a good thing at the very least, I guess.
Any other nuggets? The live YouTube chat, I'm just going to say this, and we're going to keep it simple. Like, this is a space in the live YouTube chat. You don't have to go check it out if you don't want to. First of all, I can't believe we're in 2024 having this conversation, but here we are. this is a space for everybody. We're not going to shame people for things that you think aren't right. Whatever your beliefs are, this is for everybody. We don't want people attacking other people. We're not going to make fun of sexual preferences. We're not going to make fun of what race somebody is. We're not going to make fun of what religion somebody is. This is supposed to be for Cubs fans. If you want to have those other conversations, go somewhere else. That's not what we do on this podcast.
Agreed.
So we'll just leave it at that. If you have those beliefs in your heart and you're that cold, go ahead, take them somewhere else. We don't need you.
You will be blocked. You will be blocked instantly.
That was the nice version. I would have told you something else, but credit to me for letting Luke do that.
He would have
Credit to Cody for his calmness on that. I could see the steam brewing as Ryan was talking, and I caught what was going on. Let's just stay focused on baseball, and let's try and keep that somewhat. I'm not telling you how to fan. I'm just saying let's try and keep that civilized too. We can have a little sympathy for a player that was injured, who was a top 25 prospect in baseball. You can have some sympathy for him. It's not the end of the world.
I think at the end of the day, it's just baseball. It's really just it's
but
baseball. It's a dumb
to that
game.
player,
it's
it's somebody's
baseball.
dream, right? It's somebody's dream.
Sure, no, but I'm saying
Yeah,
like as
no, I
far
agree.
as like
What
being
we're doing, yes.
nasty and being mean and
Yes.
whatever. It's just baseball at the end of the day. Like
Ryan, you
to
got to
us,
keep that.
to us watching baseball games, it's just baseball.
You got to keep that same attitude when we see you in the Cup Championship coming up in October. It's just a game.
That's
when we
Yeah,
win.
by the way,
That's-
what
no, that's
happened,
not
Ryan?
just a
Because
game.
the guys on the score boasting about a big win over CHGO. Boasting about it. They had a play-by-play guy calling the game. They were talking about how their run differential was 84 or something on the season, and that they handled CHGO.
Handled is a interesting.
And
way to put it.
someone on the show did point out that defending champion CHGO.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd put handled. Maybe a little bit.
Do we need another
it was-
ringer? Do we need to pull in a ringer?
No,
Because
we don't
they
have
started.
ringers. We have associate producers.
And by the way, the disrespect to Ryan. Let me tell you this. By the way, they were asked, "Who's playing in these games?" Like, right.
Yeah.
And you know who they said from us? Oh, Herb Lawrence, and couldn't name anybody else.
Yeah.
wow.
Why? It was like Herb Lawrence. It was as if we had Herb and a bunch of ringers. And there's Ryan ripping line drives, and Cody earlier this season just. What is your batting average? 500?
667.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
667.
If I'm mathing correctly.
That
Nicholas
is
Moriano, the big stick, Nicholas Moriano out there,
Yeah.
as if we're just made up of ringers. These are everyday workers
Yeah.
at CHGO.
I mean, if they're
It
going to
is
talk about us on the
disrespectful, and I'm
score
gonna
on
have to
Monday,
tell-
you know.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
have
would
to-
address
I'm
it.
gonna have
I'm
to
not
talk
going to
to
name
Shane.
names over there, but your name was not mentioned when they started just mentioning on-air people. Only Herb Lawrence got play.
I'm gonna next time I see Shane, I'm gonna have to ask him what's going on over there. They're disrespecting me. But
Look at the bruise
okay,
I
back to
You're not
talking
going to have
about
me
the
play.
game.
Look at the bruise
Oh,
I got. That's just living everyday
Your
life.
son hit a line drive off your forearm?
It's his kid probably doing something.
It could have been the escalator issue if I was filing a lawsuit, but it wasn't. I think it was just carrying some cart for my kid or something. I don't really even know anymore.
Get him in the lineup.
Yeah, right. All right, so what do we have, Ryan? Tomorrow we got Imanaga. Is there hope that that's the first day of the rest of our lives?
Isn't every day the hope at this point, right? Like
It's the hope.
every inning is the hope that this is the inning that changes the season. Every at bat, this is the hope that this is the at bat that changes the season. Every burst of emotion, hopefully this is the burst of emotion that changes the season, right? Like I think that's you're kind of at that point already. Like regardless of game, inning, at bat, pitch, whatever. Like if you're gonna change around the season, now is the time. You just don't have a lot of opportunities left to do it. So Shota's been very good. They actually have a good record when Shota Imanaga pitches for him. So I think. I mean, it's a tough lineup. It's going to be a tough lineup for him to face. I think you still feel confident that he can go out there and give you a chance to win. But it's the best team in baseball right now. I think they're still record-wise the best team in baseball, right? The Phillies. That's going to be it's a tough team to beat, regardless of who's injured or who's you're facing, who's on the mound. It's going to be a tough team. So, but as far as what's going to change the season around, like, it doesn't matter what it is, it's got to happen now. It's got to happen as soon as the game starts tomorrow.
And we're getting the big wrap sign from Kevin Wells.
Wrap it up.
Did we read our
super chat?
Yeah,
That's
did
the
we
last
do the
thing I want to do
super
real quick.
Ben
Ben Warren, what does it say?
$4.99. Cody for president or GM or manager. I don't give a F anymore. LOL.
Oh, isn't that nice?
What would I
what a
do?
wonderful way to end the show.
If I were
I don't know
the
if you want that.
GM, if I were the GM, I would literally do anything possible at all to make Juan Soto a Cub this offseason.
Okay,
that
let's
would be
do
my
it.
first move.
Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs
Anything
podcast.
possible. Do anything.
Blank
That don't go that far. 6-4. Phillies win. We're back tomorrow with another postgame show. Until then, fly the
We all silly like the mayor.